Welcome.
Appreciate you.
This is only the third episode that I'm doing.
Cool.
Designated report behind the lens. I'm Johnell, getting to sit down with Shawn, who is creating some incredible content
Appreciate
for
that.
the Arizona Cardinals. Absolutely, man. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm first of all, thank you for having me. This is super dope. I'm born and raised Arizona, so I'm a local guy, which is actually rare. A lot of people living in Arizona now are transplant people. So born and raised Arizona. So I've kind of lived all over the valley, but always had a passion for sports. And, I ended up, studying journalism in college, trying to stay close to it in some sense or form. And that turned from, regular on paper journalism to broadcast journalism, doing reporting and news stuff on camera. And that was at the local community college out here, Scottsdale Community College. And, I was going through my studies, and I transferred to ASU, the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Realized that I don't want to do the on-camera stuff. I did not have an affinity for news. And that was like my junior year. I'm like, man, like I did all this work and I don't want to do this. So talked to some really cool people there, some staff there who had been in the industry for years, and asked me if I was interested in production. And basically that's kind of how it really just took off. I started learning more aspects about shooting, everything, bro, like everything from shooting, like post-production, editing, to actually live production. I directed our, what was then the ASU student broadcast, I guess you could say. So I directed that live for my last semester. We even did a 4-hour live show of Obama when he got reelected for a second term. So a lot of on-the-fly learning, but through that, man, I learned how to live direct. I learned how to TD, run an EBS, teleprompter, an audio board, Chiron, Photoshop, After Effects. Like I had to be a one-man band because everybody there wanted to be on camera. They wanted to be, on CNN or ESPN, and there wasn't, a group of people really lined up to do production. So I was able to kind of just thrive in that environment because I could do anything and everything, get hands-on. So that's kind of where it kind of blossomed, and yeah, that's kind of basically the start in a nutshell.
So you haven't even been doing this for that long. How long have you been out of school?
No, well, so now, I mean, that was a while back. That was in 2012. Hold on, let me pause before I have to yell at my kids. Sorry, but yeah, that was back in. So I graduated in 2012, and so I should say within that, I think I want to say going into ASU, I landed an internship with the Phoenix Suns, and so I landed an internship in their broadcast department, and I was, extremely fortunate to get my foot in the door that way. And I knew I was super pumped when I got it, because I knew, even though I was green and I didn't know a lot about really anything in the industry, I knew, like, once I got my foot in the door, like there was no way I was going to pass up the opportunity and make it into something big. So, and I was on the grind, man. Like I was doing logging tapes. I was, putting back old beta tapes. I was burning DVDs. I was getting lunch. I mean, I was doing all of it, man. And I was in the midst of going to school and also doing my other internship, which wasn't paid, but it was required through school, which was at KPHO, which is the CBS affiliate out here. So I was just like trying to hustle, man. I was kind of all over the place. But I was super fortunate to land that internship with the Suns, and it worked out perfectly because I was able to go to school. The Suns offices are downtown. ASU's Kronk High School is downtown, so I would wake up early, log tapes, do whatever, stop, walk down to class, do class all day, come back, work a little bit more, take off from there to the internship. So I was all over, man. I was just trying to learn and grind, but it was perfect for me because it was nothing but I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't have no distractions. It was either school, work, or internship. So it all worked out.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And now you're here, 8 years later, and
Facts.
blessed, man. That's hope how you came in at the ground floor and put in the work that you had to.
Sure.
That's dope, man.
For sure.
So, I know right now, if I go to your Instagram, it's mainly Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
When did that happen? I know you got the internship with the Suns? When did and how did the Cardinals come along?
Yeah, so I actually spent about 8 years with the Suns. So I was a part-timer internship for the internship turned into like a part-time gig, and that was like for like 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And once I graduated, there was a opening with the Suns full-time, which was then Suns.com as a videographer editor. And I was still very green at that time, like still very green. But because I had worked my tail off and, made good relationships, I had a group of people that vouched for me and, went to bat for me. So I got another opportunity. And I spent about 4 years, or I should say, I spent about, I want to say 2 years in Suns.com, 2-3 years in Suns.com. Suns.com was eventually dissolved. And then made into what is now the current content team. It's just they kind of brought a different group of people from throughout the organization and made this one content team. I was there up until early last summer, and I got a call from a guy, and it's just crazy how every time I talk about this, it just blows my mind. So I got a call from a guy at the Cardinals, Richard, who I work with now, and he was actually a producer at the Suns when I was an intern there. And then he ended up leaving for the Cardinals, and I kind of still worked my way up throughout the Suns. And he asked me if I was looking to make a change, which at the time I wasn't.
Yeah.
But I figured that I would. Sorry, I got my kids yelling at me.
Don't worry.
Sorry. But yeah, so he asked me if I was looking for a change, and I told him, at the time I really wasn't necessarily looking, but I figured, they were kind enough to reach out. It's only right that I go hear them out, listen to what they got to say, and I talked to Richard, Tim, who's currently my boss, and kind of just thought it over, and the ball started to roll, and before I knew it, I was making the move from the Suns to the Cardinals. So that was last summer of 2019. My first day on the job was our first game. So I just hit the ground running. It was crazy. But it's been awesome, man. I mean, football is my first love. So I love everything about football. And like I said, I'm a local guy. So I've been a Cardinals fan since we were out at Sun Devil Stadium before we even had our own stadium. And it was 1:15. We were baking in the heat, and we had to sit on old metal bleachers and getting blown out by 20 in the first half. I mean, like, I've been down for the Cardinals for a minute, so it was cool to kind of have that opportunity to work for a team that I've always been a fan of. Absolutely. And work with people that I know too, because I knew Richard, and there's a lot of crossover between the Suns and the Cardinals. One way or another, you run into people, so it wasn't too big of a shift for me, which was also cool. And I didn't have to move my family. I didn't have to uproot my family. Everybody's still here. I'm still in Arizona. So it just kind of like all of that kind of came to a head, and it was kind of like, all right, yeah, this is the right move to make. So it's been about, just over a year now. Yeah, it was like a year. I think I want to say beginning of September was a year. So yeah, about a year and a couple months now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So you said your first day on the job with the Cardinals, hit the ground running. What's a typical day look like for you on game day?
On game day?
Yeah.
It really depends on if we're home or away. Home is a lot more relaxed because you just got to get up and get to the stadium. We try to get to the stadium 4 hours before kickoff. Usually what happens is we have to we have to mic our players. So we have every game day we have at least one player who's mic'd. So we try to get there 4 hours before, get all our gear situated, get the pads mic'd, get them situated back to the equipment managers in the locker room. And then, it's just kind of all hands on deck, making sure your gear's good, making sure you're set up to shoot for the day, and then kind of taking a step back and seeing if there's anywhere you can help. Obviously, COVID has completely thrown what is our normal game days for a wrench. So a lot of the times we're just setting up to shoot in the stands and doing odd things that people probably wouldn't even think about. Getting our GoPro ready to hand to our media relations guy in case we win, because he's the only one who's allowed in the locker room afterwards. So he's the one that shoots our locker room speech. Just all kinds of little tidbits, depending on what your role is for that day. But home games are definitely like a little more chill, because on the road it's a little bit of a different beast. But that's kind of it in a nutshell, getting set up. And then you're just you're shooting, you're capturing your content, whether you're shooting highlights that day, or if you're actually following your mic'd up player. Like for instance, this last Sunday we had our DN Hassan Reddick and our running back Chase Edmonds mic'd up. So we have 3 cameras. We have a high and 2 lows. The lows offset players. So the other low camera, I was one low. The other low camera is shooting our running back. I was shooting our defensive end, and then we have a high camera that's shooting both. So I would just switch off. I'd shoot wired on defense, and then when it was offense, I would just shoot general highlights. So, and then obviously game's over. You got post game duties with sound, cleaning up equipment, repacking, and all that other stuff, man. So all that in a whatever it is, 5-hour span, something like that.
So how many people are on your team?
Total, or are you asking just like shooters?
Just like shooters.
People shooting, we usually have, at a minimum, we usually have at least 4 people shooting. We have one guy that's allowed on the field to actually shoot video. We have a photog who's on the field all the time. And then we have 3 wired shooters. At home, we have 3 wired shooters, so that actually makes it 5. And then there might sometimes, every now and then, we have one more who's floating around. So sometimes it could be even up to 6, just depending on what the day looks like. And if everybody's staffed, sometimes, people ask for a game off, or, it's not, maybe we're not full strength, I guess you could say. Not everybody's shooting at the time. So sometimes it's 5, sometimes it could be 6.
Okay. And you said that's home games typically are a little more chill.
Sure.
How often do they have you out on the road going to away games?
Yeah, well, pre-COVID, it was every game, unless you specifically requested a game off. Yeah, we would send basically our full team to every game. I think maybe minus 1 or 2 people. Obviously, that has changed with COVID. So I think right now we're sending a total of 3 shooters and 1 photog on the road. And so obviously that changes a lot. So we still have one guy who's on the field, who's shooting highlights, and then the 2 other shooters are strictly wired. We'll wire one guy on the road trip. It would just be one guy that time, and so you're strictly focused on the wired guy. And sometimes it depends how we're divvying up the process. Sometimes you can still, if you're shooting defensive player, you can still shoot offensive highlights. So, you're not just tied to just wired. So there's some creativity freedom in there. But it's a little more, I guess it's a little more focused on the road as far as like what we're capturing. Because we're so limited now, we can't really just kind of shoot and kind of bring it all together at the end. We kind of have to be a little more precise on what we're trying to capture, because there's only 3 of us out there really.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Do you
hear them yelling in the background? Sorry.
Don't worry. Don't
worry.
Man.
They're like, it's funny, man. They're like slowly building. Like they were quiet, and then it's a little play here, and before you know it, one's gonna be speeding by here, and it's all. But it's all good.
How old are your kids?
I have 2 boys. My oldest is 4, and my youngest is 2.
Okay.
So they are the a tandem, to say the least, man. They are partners in crime, and when one gets going, they both get going, and then it's off to the races, man. So I'm trying to keep them contained with little Spider-Man, a little food, but everything's temporary with these guys.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have younger brothers. They're
Nice.
older, but
Yeah.
they're twins. So they're
Okay.
I think they're turning 15 this year. But
Wow.
yeah, man, I can
That's,
having two kids around the same age, like,
man,
and I'm sure they're running in opposite directions too.
yeah, man. It's like it's a blessing and a curse, man, because they don't stop. Like they are a handful, but it's beautiful to see them. I mean, they're best friends. Like they are like, if one goes to the room, they're like the little one's a shadow of the big ones. So it's cool to know that they'll always have each other, that they'll always be close. But they're at that age now, man, to where it's all love and fun 1 second, and then someone's crying, or I gotta go break up a fight. You know, it's full on in here, man. So when I get them to be quiet and just relax, it's rare. But it's a ticking time bomb, man, because they just woke up from the nap. They're getting some food in them, so they're about to get going here shortly. But it's a labor of love, man. Like, you know, I always have to sit back and talking to sports, man. I mean, you know how it is. Like you're gone every day, basically working weekends with football, holidays. So anytime I can spend, whether that drive me crazy or not, you know, I gotta kind of soak it up, because I don't get that much time with them as I wish I could.
Well, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So do you do any other shooting?
Like photography wise?
Yeah.
Not as much as I want to with football. So I started really getting into photography like my last season with the Suns.
Mhm.
We would travel on the road every other, like they would pick road trips. You wouldn't travel every road trip with the Suns. But we would send 2 shooters, and we would send like our social reporter, our sideline reporter, and that was really it. So we didn't have a social person on the road. We didn't have a photog on the road. So you know, but that was still content that we needed to provide. So I would start to just pick up my camera and start snapping photos, and then you know, I love the quality about it. And then, you know, once I had the quality about it, it was really just you know, trying to figure out how do I perfect this, because then it just became another outlet for being artistic. Like it just became another outlet. So I started to study more about, you know, the foundational aspects about photography, instead of just relying on, you know, the camera to do my work, or Lightroom or Photoshop to do my work. I tried to actually learn about it, and I became obsessed with it. So I really have only been shooting photos for maybe 2 years, if that. Yeah, it's been something that I've fallen in love with. I don't really get to do it as much with the Cardinals, just because usually I'm shooting highlights or video. But it's cool. Our photog Derek, who's crazy talented, doesn't need any of my help at all. But every now and then he'll let me pick up his camera and snap a few. So hopefully I can do that some more as the season goes on and we kind of get more in a groove. But yeah, right now any photo I do is probably purely like freelance on my own, or with family, friends, things like that. Just because when I'm working, it's usually video for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular setup that you're using, or a favorite setup that you're using
on game day?
Yeah.
So right now, if I shoot mirrorless, so we have 2 mirrorless Sony A7S IIIs, and then we have 3 ARRI Alexas that we shoot on. And so I didn't really know a lot about the ARRI coming in. My personal body that I use on my own is a Sony A7S III. So I shot a lot of that last year, but now this year, I've been getting on the ARRI a lot, and I'm obsessed with it. So like, it sucks because I always thought like I just love the look of the DSLR and the mirrorless, and I still do. But once I got into the ARRI and started learning more about it, it just like I've fallen in love with it. So it's been ARRI a lot lately. But every now and then I still shoot mirrorless on our A7S III. It really just depends on what the assignments are for game day. But it's always back and forth between those two for sure.
Gotcha. And you just mentioned assignments.
Yeah.
How does that work on game day? Is it something you and your team talk about and collaborate with, or does that come from somebody up above saying, hey, I know we have these guys wired, I need them today, or I need Kyle and DeAndre today? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. Well, just in the midst of COVID, like right now, usually we have a guy who's really like mostly solely dedicated to social as a shooter editor. I kind of bounce around between digital broadcasts and social, so I kind of dabble in all three of those. So usually the guy who's shooting social is 9 times out of 10 on the field because he can shoot the highlights, he can run them, he can feed them upstairs so they can tweet it out, all that stuff more real time than we could. But yeah, I think throughout the week, it just depends. I mean, everybody has different situations. Maybe somebody's not working or, someone requested a day off. And so we just kind of try to play it by ear. If someone shot low one week, maybe they'll be the high camera this week. If someone, has been shooting wired, the entire season, maybe they get a chance to actually step away and just shoot some highlights without having to worry about being the wired person. So yeah, we definitely talk about it throughout the week and actually, try to plan. And, everybody's pretty on board to do whatever they need to do to help the team. So it's basically like, just tell us where you need us to be kind of deal. And they kind of divvy it up that way.
That's cool. Because I kind of figured if, if you're kind of shooting, game day, you're going to be shooting more or less the same things. You kind of rotate. But I would think it would give you some more opportunities to be creative because you don't want to shoot the same players the same way every game.
Sure.
You want to try and, do something that'll, catch the eye and be a little bit different than what people have seen before.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that's really the key when you get that chance. I mean, it like I said, it really comes down to, obviously we have assignments that there's things that we have to accomplish every game day. Like our wired pieces are some of our highest viewed content. So wired is extremely important. But then when you get the opportunity to shoot highlights, whether you're switching off or you're fully shooting highlights, I think it's important to try to find a way to, stand out with what you're capturing. Because, we have 2 NFL films cameras on the field. We have a broadcast, which gives you 4 or 5 different angles as it is. So, like, how can you be different? How can you provide something that someone's going to seek out, be like, I need to go find that shot that you wouldn't find on the broadcast, that you wouldn't find from the NFL. And yeah, that's definitely something that I try to keep in mind all the time when I'm shooting, when I get the chance to shoot highlights. And it's different, man. It's difficult this year because, in last year or in a normal year, we'd be on the field. You can kind of roam around and have a lot more freedom. This year, we're kind of relegated to the stands. So that's a new challenge in itself. But in that same breath, like I've been able to capture some really cool stuff from an angle I never thought possible because I'm shooting in the stands. So I have like this year, I feel like I've got like 2 or 3 shots that once I captured, I was like, oh yeah, that's going to live on my reel one day. Like just because it's a different angle and, it's different circumstances, but it's like you said, it's unique. It's not something, we don't do that. Yeah. Usually everybody's on the field. So it's just provided a different opportunity to kind of, make lemonade, I guess, as we could. So it's been cool, but it's definitely been a challenge trying to find a way to be creative and, differentiate yourself from, the norm when you're so limited in like where you can go, how you can shoot, all that. But you just got to take with what you can, man.
Sure. For football, and I know, again, COVID has made things really different this year, but I know like baseball, basketball, they tend to use a lot of remote photography. You guys use any of that for NFL games or no?
I don't think so, man. I haven't seen it. I'm sure it exists, but in my experience, it's more about what it is that you're willing to do to get your shot, because football is so active. It's not like basketball. Like when I started shooting with the Suns, if you were lucky enough to get one of the spots on the floor, that was your spot. Like you couldn't get up, you couldn't roam around, you couldn't get a different angle. You know, maybe you could go shoot in the stands before, you occupied a seat that was taken maybe, but
Yeah.
outside of that, I mean, you were really limited. So football, I mean, within the realms of the rules, you can go anywhere on the field. So a lot of photographers it just really depends their style. I mean, a lot of guys will work and, move to be ahead of the play. So the action's coming at them. So I would imagine remote photography would probably be a little bit harder because the stadiums are just massive. You know, I mean, it's just massive stadiums. So, but I know it does exist. I don't think I've worked with anybody or seen anybody personally do it, but I'm sure it does exist.
Gotcha. So I know you're from Arizona, born and raised. Did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, I was a big football guy, man. I played football and basketball, but basketball is funny because I've always been tall. I've always been taller, not uberly tall, but always taller than everybody else at my age. But I was probably like a $150 soaking wet maybe. So I mean, anytime in that era, that was before the KDs and stuff. So if you were tall, you just played center. So I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to shoot. I don't want to dribble. I'm tired of getting hit. I'm tired of getting pushed around by bigger people. So I went to a sport where I could hit people back. And football, I instantly fell in love with it. And I've been around football forever. My dad played football at TCU. All my family members have played football in some aspect. And so I've always loved football. So yeah, I mean, I played throughout high school, played a little JUCO. That was about as far as my ascension went. But it's always been a passion and always been a love of mine. So
yeah. So
yeah.
Have you from your football background, does that help you at all when you're shooting?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because if you play football or any sport, basketball, baseball, you kind of understand the intricacies of how things develop, and you can kind of slowly but surely start to anticipate what's going to happen. You can see little things. I mean, obviously it depends how deep you are into it, but you can tell when the line's coming off and it's going to be a run play, or you can see if the quarterback's really handing off the ball, if it's just play action, if he's you know what I'm saying. So all those little things that I don't know if maybe the everyday person would know unless you're really involved in football or you're just a real fan of football, watching football. But yeah, I think it definitely has. It definitely has helped me a lot. Even I'll ISO a receiver, and I can tell by his movements, off the line or getting set, like, okay, either he might be involved in this or this is just a run play. Like I can tell off the bat because the body language is different. If I see him getting ready a little quicker and touching the gloves, I'm like, he might have one here. So just those little things that maybe the common person wouldn't notice, but yeah, definitely within the sport you definitely pick up on those things, and it's a big help for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I know I take some photos. I'm definitely not anywhere where you are in terms of anything like that, but I know that I could do a birthday party, or I could do like a football game or lacrosse game or something, and at the end of the game I've got 500, 700 pictures. What is, and I know for me personally, at least, I hate editing. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
But I know how important it is.
For sure.
Is there anything that you dislike about the whole process?
You know what? That's tough because I feel like it's like anything, right? Like anything that you do all the time, you're going to get tired of, right? Sure. Like, I mean, like I'm married and me and my wife get tired of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like it's one of those things where it's like, I love what I do, but yeah, there's times I think I said the other day, I was like, I could go a month without editing and be good, but I don't think there's really anything that like I get that I like ultimately dislike. Obviously, if you're working on something that you're not passionate about, if it's like a project that you kind of have to get off the books, or you got a box check, those projects I hate, where you just you're kind of being dictated and you don't really have any creative freedom because at that point you're just a button pusher. So that's probably my least favorite, when I just have to execute somebody else's vision and I don't really have a say so. But outside of that, I would never say, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't dislike it. There's nothing I dislike, but definitely like the grind of editing every single day, or editing photos, or whatever it may be, the whole process like gets tiring. I would say if there's anything that I dislike about the process is logging my footage.
Oh,
That's one thing that I dislike, because like you said, you've been at an event all day, or maybe it's the day before, and then we got to come in. So we'll shoot a game all day Sunday, come in first thing Monday morning, and we got to make sure we log our footage, because everybody's already cranking on projects, different things, and they have to be able to find certain elements and things like that. So logging footage is definitely a pain, because you got to go back through every single play. Sometimes it's exciting because you get to go back and be like, oh, I remember I got this dope shot. Let me look at this. But then, the whole process in itself, like I'm like, it always takes forever for me, because I'll be logging, then I'll open up Twitter, or then I'll start watching a YouTube video, and then all of a sudden I'm off track and I got to get back into it. So logging would probably be the one thing that I dislike. It's like a necessary evil, obviously, but
sure.
yeah, for sure, I would probably say something like that.
So on the flip side, what's your favorite thing about the whole process?
Man, that is a great question. It's a toss-up between editing and shooting, but I feel like there's no better feeling than knowing you got a dope shot. Like, there's no better feeling, whether it's photography or videography, if a big play happens, or a big hit, or a big dunk, whatever, and you captured it perfectly. There's no better feeling. Like, in your back of your head, you like, I got one. It's like a kid in the candy store. You can't wait to get back to the computer and pull it up and throw it, color it, and put a grade on it. Or, if it's a photo, you can't wait to throw it in Lightroom and tweak it, and because you're just excited. So I would say, I'd probably say if I had to pick between the two, it'd be shooting, just because like I live for those moments where it's a big play and you just know that you nailed the shot, and like it's just that's probably the best feeling. But I also love the creative process of editing and tweaking things, and then maybe accidentally stumbling on something that's really dope and all that other stuff, and it growing from there. But if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably say shooting.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, do you have a singular favorite photo or video that you've shot? One that, like, off the top of your head, you're like, yes, I remember this.
Yeah.
This player. This is what happened.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I got. I'll never forget. I was on the road, still working with Suns.com. I was the only shooter editor. I was shooting on a Sony FS700 with a buffer record, so it like records like the last. I can't remember the exact number, but it's constantly recording, and then you can lay down a clip, and it's like your previous 20 seconds or whatever it was. And I was shooting at 120, and that's when I just got into like slow-mo and finally like understanding aspects of video. And we were in Cleveland. Suns were playing the Cavs. We were getting beat pretty bad already. And I'll never forget, it was a turnover. Kyrie's pushing a fast break. J.R. Smith was pushing a fast break. Kicks it out to Kyrie on the wing. Kyrie immediately, as soon as he catches it, throws a lob up to LeBron. LeBron catches it right hand and just flushes it, and then stares down our bench. And I caught it perfectly. Like, to this day, like, it was on a Sony FS700. It was in a standard profile, like no log, no nothing. Like, I'm still green to it. It's still probably it's probably my favorite shot that I've ever gotten. And it was just so epic. The dunk, the stare down. Here I am wearing Suns gear, like, like fist pumping because I got the shot, but like it was crazy. And then, I would probably say that's easily my favorite clip. And I have like a litany of them now.
Sure.
Like I got some crazy Kelly Oubre posters where he just faced people. I got Devin Booker doing some ridiculous stuff with time with the Suns, and obviously now with the Cardinals, Kyler is a freak. Some of the stuff he does. So there's a lot, but that would probably be my favorite video. And then photo, I would say I snapped this photo of D-Book, oddly enough, in Cleveland. This was like years later now. This is 2018.
Yeah.
I snapped a photo of Book, and it was a crazy scenario. I mean, it wasn't really a crazy scenario. The game had kind of just been put out of reach, and we were just on a streak, man. We couldn't get one. Like, it seemed like even if we were close, things would always fall apart at the end. And it was kind of one of those same things. And I just got a shot of, I think Devin tried to take a shot to bring it within like one possession, and he missed. And then we had the foul, and the game was basically out of reach at that point.
Yeah.
And you kind of see him just looking up back at the scoreboard, kind of looking at the replay, like almost looking at like, man, like what do I got to do to get one of these down? But I ended up just snapping a photo, and I threw a grade on it, and Book loved it. He posted it. It was really dope. This story is really dope because he asked me for some photos because he saw I was snapping photos. And he was like, yeah, I'll tag you in them too. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I didn't think anything of it, sent him some stuff, and he posted that one. But he didn't just, he could have easily just put it on his profile and just tagged me in it, and that would have been it. And I would have been like, dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But he actually like threw it on his story and shouted me out, saying like, I've been killing it. And like, obviously he knew what he was doing, right? Like, he knew like the impact that would have like for my craft and for my profile, because this dude's already at like 1.2 million followers. So he was really, really dope to do something like that, and like showed like a lot of love. So that's kind of become like one of my favorite photos, because that's what it reminds me of in that moment. And that's kind of like started this wave of like, I guess my like social media presence growth in a sense. That was kind of like what started the wave, because I had been shooting and like tagging players and stuff for a while, but for Book to show love like the way he did, and actually like shout me out like that, like he knew what he was doing, and that was just really dope of him. And he's a really dope guy for that. So that's probably one of my favorite photos for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Suns, I'm assuming you're a Suns fan, right? You grew up watching the Suns.
Sure.
What'd you think about them down in the bubble?
Man, bro, I was hyped. I couldn't miss a game, man. I was so hyped for him, and like it's just different when you work on the other side, because and like I was with the Suns. My first year with the Suns was Steve Nash's last year, so we've seen a lot of struggle. I wasn't there for the glory days as an employee, at least, so I know what it's like to be involved in it day to day and hear that the team is no good or deal with the losing streaks. Like, so I was super excited more for the staff and like, everybody there, because I know what a relief it is to finally see success when you've been down so bad. I mean, there's nothing worse than being so passionate, involved in something, and people just kick you down because the team's not winning.
Absolutely.
So it was super dope, man. And obviously, like you said, I'm a fan before anything. Before I was an employee, I was a fan. So it was cool to see those guys not only perform, but perform on a stage where everybody had to recognize that they were for real.
Yeah.
And that was the cool part, because I think a lot of times, like, even when, guys like Book are killing it on the local stage, it's kind of just shunned because, it's, nobody's really paying attention to Phoenix. But because all eyes were on the bubble and they performed the way they did, and big shots, big wins, it was really dope. So I'm rooting for those guys, man. I hope they continue to build on it, and, it's only up from here. But yeah, it was fun. That was real fun.
I believe it, man.
Yeah.
So I know you said you got Kyrie, JR, you got LeBron, you got Book, you got DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray and all these guys. Do you have any, if I were to say, Shawn, you can shoot anybody you want, videography, photography, who would it be?
Like currently playing?
Anybody. It could be sports or otherwise. Anybody.
Oh, wow. Sports or otherwise. That is a great question. Man, that's a great question. I've never thought about that. I would love to like do some lifestyle stuff, like just be like a fly on the wall of somebody and just go through their day to day. But I don't know who that would be. Dang, that's a great question. So, it would be dope to like be a fly on the wall and just capture moments of someone like a Drake or something like that, just to see like how the room kind of like stands at attention literally, but you know how it is when like someone like that comes into a room in their presence. It would be dope to do like some lifestyle stuff like that, video or the other, or I feel like it'd always be cool to capture the great athletes like the LeBron, OBJ, things like that. Guys who are just flashy, but have kind of like that combination of performance plus swagger, like all kind of put together. I feel like that's kind of like the perfect storm. They got the drip with the gear, or what I'm saying, the visor, or whatever it is, but then they're also going out and backing it up. But yeah, I feel like that would be dope. One of my biggest hopes that I want to do is I want to actually like photograph or capture video at a concert. I've never done that before.
Really?
To actually do like a live concert, and that would be really really dope. That's like on my bucket list. So I'm trying to work my way up into that realm.
Yeah,
So that would be dope to like shoot someone like Drake like at a concert, like sold out arena,
I could definitely see that.
music blasting. Yeah, that'd probably be like a bucket list thing that I would never forget for sure.
That's dope. Yeah. Um, is there anything that you have learned from photography, like life lessons from photography or videography?
Yeah, man. I mean, if it's taught me anything is, if you put the work in, man, anything is possible. If you would have told me 10 years ago that this would be what I would do as a job, as a profession, like there's no way I would have believed you. Because like I said, man, I didn't take any formal classes, any formal training. It's just been through trial and error, asking questions, meeting great people along the way who have been willing to take time out of their day to help me. But none of that would be possible if I didn't put the time in, and didn't fail and pick it up and try again, and all that, just continually learning and trying to get better. So if it's taught the biggest thing it's taught me for sure is, if you want it, like, it's out there for you. Like,
Yeah,
no matter what the scale. I feel like a lot of people say that and they think like, people say that and it's, they're thinking, oh, it means I could be rich, or Bill Gates money, or, everybody says those type of things and they think, fame and fortune, which is cool. I mean, everybody wants that. I want that. But just in more in like a general sense of like, I've been able to provide for my family doing something that I love. And I had no business being here. Like, I had no business being here outside of the fact that like I worked hard and I was willing to learn, and able to figure out that I actually had a skill set and then a passion to do this. So I think if anything it's taught me, it's anything is possible if you're willing to put the work in, like, period. Like, because like I said, I mean, people ask me all the time, what did I do to get here? And it's like, man, it's so cliche, and I know it's not the answer you want to hear, but like, I worked my ass off, like, period. Like, I just worked. And obviously, you have to have breaks and meet the right people along the way. Like, I didn't just do it all by myself. But yeah, if it's taught me anything, it's just, if you put your head down and do the work and do it for the right reasons, like, good things will happen to you.
yeah. And the fact that you, and again, I know this isn't where you want to be.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's more that you want to do. You want to do the concert and the whole nine.
for sure.
But the fact that you're able to sit back and be like, yo, like, I didn't do this all on my own, but
Yeah,
I did do a lot of it. I did put
for
in,
sure.
long hours and late nights and things like that,
For sure, man.
to kind of get to where you're at. So, yeah, man, I think that's a lesson everybody could take.
Yeah,
If you want it, if you want it enough and you're willing to work for it, there's opportunities there for you.
absolutely, man. And I mean, that's like, when you step back, whenever I step back and try to like reflect on things, like, that's always the one thing I take away from it. Cause like I said, like, there's no way I would have known this would be my career path or what I would be doing for a living. And I'm extremely blessed to be doing it. But like I said, yeah, sometimes you got to take a step back and pat yourself on the back and be like, man, like, you know, I feel like we're always our biggest critic. That sometimes it's okay to, praise yourself a little bit. And I feel like the world perceives that as like cockiness or whatever it may be. But yeah, like, even just having this conversation with you, I wasn't thinking about that, but I was like, man, like, if anything, it's told me like, you just got to work hard, and like, opportunities will come. And if you're willing to, maybe do the grunt work or do the things that not everybody wants to do, or do the dirty work to achieve what you want to achieve, the opportunity is there. It's just about the work you're going to put in, the time you're going to put in. And any door can open for you, really really can. I'm a testament to that.
Absolutely, bro. So I'm gonna wrap it up soon. I know you
Oh,
got
you're good.
the kids.
No, the wife came out and laid the law. So, and they hadn't seen her all day. So they are cold chilling now. I don't know what she said to him, but they ain't made a noise since she came out.
Say I haven't heard them in a while. So.
Yeah, she came out and laid down the law. She changed the movie, and they are. I don't know what she said, but I'm not gonna mess it up.
What are your ultimate goals? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, man. That's a great question. I think about that often, and I really don't have like a solid answer because I've really just been really fortunate to kind of just enjoy the ride and things have opened up for me. But if I could set a goal, I would love to work in, in like more of a creative, directive position. Kind of more have the ideas and let people who are more talented than me as a shooter, as an editor, go out and execute those ideas, and me just kind of oversee and kind of have more of the creative control over it. I don't think I'll ever not want to shoot, ever not want to edit, but that's where I would see that if I could work on the agency side, maybe working for an ad agency or something, and doing more like impactful shoots. I got an opportunity lately to work with Nike on their tennis side. I got to work recently with this company in China called XTEP, who are working in accordance with Jeremy Lin to launch his first signature shoe. So things like that was really cool to work with a team and, be behind, work alongside of a brand. Like someone like Jeremy Lin, where people may not think of it in the States, but he's huge overseas.
Yeah.
So to work, alongside like a brand like that and have like creative vision and direction, I feel like that is somewhere I would aspire to. But here we go right here. What's up, bud? What you want? More. He wants more. Okay, give me 1 second, okay? I don't know what they got. What'd you get, popcorn? You got popcorn? Okay, give it to me. I'll get it, okay? I'll be lying like a monkey. Go watch the movie and I'll get you some more, okay? Be lying. But what's funny about the little one is like he doesn't forget. He'll come back like, "Yo, what's up with the popcorn?" He used to, when he was young, he would just kind of go off and play and get his own world, and he'd forget. He'll come back now like, "Yo, what's up? What's up with the popcorn, bro? You said you was gonna give me some more." It's funny.
You gotta like sure. Clothes, man.
Yeah, man. They don't play no games, man. They mean. They bullies. They little bullies out here, dude.
Man. So, yo, I don't have anything more for you. Again, I sincerely appreciate you taking some time.
Nah, man. I appreciate you, man. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to plug? I'll definitely have your Instagram, your Twitter, and everything up there. Is there anything else you want the people to know?
Nah, man. That's really it, dude. I'm on Instagram. Twitter is the same handle, but yeah. If I could say anything, if anybody is watching this, or I try to do my best to interact with people. People hit me up and ask me questions and for help, and I try to do my best to try to offer any advice or any help that I can. And I'm always down to help, so don't ever be afraid to hit me up, send me a DM. I try to answer everything. So.
Well, yeah. Again, I appreciate it, man. Big love.
Yeah, man.
And I know we tried to get together last week, couldn't make it work.
Yeah. For sure.
The fact that you could carve out a little bit of time is definitely appreciated.
No, man. I appreciate you doing this, and I think the more and more you do it, people will grow to appreciate it even more, man. Because I don't do this a lot, but it was kind of cool to kind of take a step back and kind of reminisce and talk about the journey, and it kind of puts a lot of things in perspective. So it's a cool thing you're doing, man. I think a lot of people, I know for sure I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else that you reach out to will appreciate it too, because whether I don't think anybody necessarily seeks out the spotlight, but it is cool to be appreciated for what you do. So I appreciate you doing this, man. It's dope.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be in touch again. Appreciate it.
Cool, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah. The rest appreciate you.
Stay safe.
Yes, sir.
I'll talk
all
to
that
you.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yep.
All right, then, man.